Hey guys, welcome back. Currently, microservices is a hot topic in the IT market. In this video, we'll see how we can build and deploy a PHP application into Docker container using Jenkins. Watch the complete video till the end to get complete idea and hands-on on the CI/CD. So let's start. So before we get started, let's see what are the tools we are going to use and why do we be created. The tools will be used, the GitHub, Jenkins, and Docker. And what will be created? We'll get the UI app, DB app, and the DB UI app. So this will be the container 1, container 2, and container 3. There will be 3 containers created. So let's see how we can set up the Docker and how we'll write the Docker file, Docker compose, everything. And then we'll see how we can set up these things in Jenkins to build and deploy it. So first, let me show you the Docker compose file. I'll show you how the Docker compose file is written and what are the services I have created it, right? So let me first minimize these things and I'll just explain it. Okay. So if you're using the Docker and Docker Compose, because here in this project, I'm going to create multi-container application. So we are going to use microservices. We're going to put our applications into microservices architecture where I'm going to create multiple applications and deploy into multiple containers. So I'm using here the simple Docker Compose tool to create various applications containers. So if you see here, I have created 3 services. One is the www, which is nothing but the UI service, and the DB service, and the PHP myadmin, which will be our DB UI service. Okay, so here if you see, it's a very simple syntax for the Docker Compose file, and it starts with the version and the 2. The version is nothing but the Docker Compose version, and here in the services tag we have this www, that is nothing but the UI service. So if I maximize it, you will see I have used the parameter build, ports, volume, links, and metrics. So let me explain all of this. So what does build does actually? So the build is just building the Docker file which is created and kept under this particular context area. So if I see here, I have the Docker file created in this project folder. So if you just open this Docker file, and we'll have this PHP. The base image is from PHP 7.2 Apache. So from the base image, I am just going to install the MySQLi in the container itself. That means once the container, the UI container, the PHP container will be created, and this particular Docker PHP extension, it will get installed with the MySQLi. Okay, so this is the simple, very simple Docker file. I have not added much here. Based on your requirement, based on your project need, you can add more commands and more instructions into the Docker file. Okay, so let's move into the Docker Compose. So here the Docker Compose, we have the ports. So the ports I have just given us 8080, and the Apache or the PHP, the Apache application, the UI, because we are going to use the Apache server, right? PHP Apache server, which will be the Apache, the HTTP server, which the default port is 80. And similarly, our container port for the Apache or HTTP server will be also 80. So I have given 8080 here, and the volume I have kept. I have created one directory here that's called www, which is nothing but the project folder where the PHP file or the HTML or PHP file will be kept here. So you can see here in this current folder, in the project folder, we have one folder created, www. So if I just expand here, I can see one index.php file is kept in this folder, and I have created the volume and linked. I am just treating this folder as a volume and linking that one to the container directory, the root directory of the server. So HTTP server, the root directory is var www.html. So when we link this one, the index.php will automatically be linked to the container, this root folder. Okay, and then links. As we are going to access the database service using the UI, so I have just given a link to link this particular www service with the DB service here. Okay, so if I just expand this DB service part here, we'll see here we have the DB service, entire DB services, and that will be linked to the UI part. And networks, I'm just going to use the default network. So let's explain this DB service, what it exactly contains. So if you see here, I'm using directly here the image. You can see in the UI part, I have created a Docker file, and here I have just used to build the Docker file by using this build argument, okay, build parameter. I have just used the build option here to build the Docker file and create the image out of that. But here, I am just going to use the image directly from the Docker Hub. So the version of MySQL is 5.7.28. And the ports, similarly, the MySQL port is 3306. This is the default port of the MySQL DB. So I have used 3306 here. And the environments. In this environment sections, I have given some environment variables. So for MySQL, the default environment variables or the global variables name is called MySQL underscore database, MySQL underscore user, MySQL password, root password. So here I have simply given the database name is called as MyDB. The user I've created Ranjit, password Ranjit. And here is simple format to store the file in a plain text, the user and passwords. So you can use different mechanism to hide these passwords. In the advanced sections, you can see here how we can hide the user ID and passwords by using different mechanism of Docker sections. So you can use the variable sections to hide this one and create the vault sections and how you can store this variable in the different ways. So here I have just added a default like the plain text file to make you understand how it works. Okay. So the next one is the volumes. So in the volumes, you can see here, I have created one DOM folder in this project directory or project folder. We have this DOM directory, right? This DOM directory contains the mydb.sql, which is nothing but the DOM of the SQL, which will pass this one to get created during the DB container creation. Okay, so if I go and check this compose file again, we have this persistent volume, which I have gave the MySQL DB, the root directory of the MySQL, where all the data or the databases gets created, and that will be preserved under this persistent volume. Network, similarly, I have created default network, and I have another service which is the PHP MyAdmin. This is for DB UI. Through this UI, we can directly get connected to the DB, right? So if I go and check here, we have this PHP MyAdmin, and we have this 82 port. You can see here, so similarly, I have used the image, PHP MyAdmin image, and this will be downloaded from the Docker Hub. And here you can see I have again linked the DB service with this my PHP admin service. Okay, and the ports 82 and 80. The 82 port, because I have PHP MyAdmin also have the default port, because the same is going to be work on the same HTTP service, HTTP server. Okay, so HTTP server, we already have one UI which is running on the similar port 80. That's why I have created and given to run this particular service in a different port 82. And similarly, the environment variable which is required to connect link to database, I have given it. Whatever we have given here, you have to provide it here exactly. The same user password to get connected to the database. And here the volume, the persistent volume, I've created the persistent, which is nothing but this one, which linked with the DB service volume. Okay, this is what the very simple Docker compose.yaml file, Docker compose.yaml file I have written. So you can go ahead, and this entire project I have kept in the GitHub folder. If I just go to this GitHub project repository, you can see here the Docker PHP -PHP -MySQL. And I also have given a link in the description below. You can just go ahead and download or clone this particular project and start work. Now let's go and understand more details about the things. So here is the very simple things I have explained you about the Docker Compose, and here it will create 3 services. Now let's see how we can execute these things in a pipeline script. So in this project folder, I have created a Jenkins file. I have created a Jenkins file which will nothing but the pipeline script for the complete automations how to run the Docker Compose directly from the Jenkins. So a very simple pipeline script, I have written it here, and you can see here, this is the script, this is a declarative pipeline, right? And I have used the agent, Docker agent. I have created one agent where the Docker is installed and the required Docker and Docker Compose is installed. Required versions of Java, Docker Compose, Python, everything is installed, and that agent has been created. And I'm going to execute this step on this particular Docker agent. Okay, so before moving and setting up these things, okay, let me again explain these things, the stages. It's a very simple stage, as I said, only one stage I have written and one step. So within this sh command, the steps, I'm just executing the Docker Compose of -t, which will nothing but run the containers in the backend, all the services, whatever is kept in this particular Docker Compose file. All these services, it will be up or started running by this particular command. So before moving and setting up the Jenkins file, let me explain you how you have to set up the DB endpoint or DB service in the index.php file. You might need that to know how you have to set up the index.php file to interact with the database service, right? So it's a very simple index.php file. I've written it here. All these things have been written in the HTML, and some PHP syntax have been kept in this PHP file. So what you see here, I have the connection string, the connection variable which is created, and you can see here I have used this MySQLi connect method to connect to the DB service. And you see here the service, the endpoint or the server name is given as the DB, the host name or DNS name, whatever it is. So here I have given simple DB because in the Compose Docker Compose YAML file, if you see here, it's simple the DB service which will get connected to this particular index.php file, and the username, password, and the database, which database you want to connect. Similarly, if you are cloning this project and do practice, make sure that you are changing this particular credentials accordingly. Okay, so that's all about this project explanation. Let's go ahead and set up these things in the Jenkins. Let me connect to the Jenkins. Okay, so I have logged into my Jenkins server here. So let's go ahead and click on the new item. Let's go ahead and set up as Jenkins.docker. I just give a name as Jenkins.docker. Let's create as pipeline project. Okay. And what you have to do here, as I said, it's a very simple things. Only you have to set up the pipeline script to execute it, right? I can just mention a message, Jenkins Docker pipeline job, something like this. Okay. I don't need all these things. I am just going to trigger this build manually. So what I need is to add these pipeline sections here. So here I'm just going to add pipeline script from source code management, and source code is the Git, right? And repository here. So what you have to do, you have to just clone this, copy this things, go here and put it. As it is a public repository, it will not ask for any credentials. Okay. Now what I need the particular branch to be added here. The branch to build. Which branch do you need to build? So I have this branch. I have 2 branches here. Make sure that you clone the branch features / Jenkins -1.0, which contains the Jenkins file. So I need to add this one in the build category. So Instead of master, I can just mention feature slash Jenkins hyphen 1.0. This is the branch which I'm going to build it. Let's keep everything as it is, and the script path should be Jenkins file. Let's go ahead and set this project. See, it's very simple to create, straightforward. Now I have created the job. It's called Jenkins Docker. Now let's go ahead and build this project, and make sure before building and your agent, whatever the agent you have created and given, is running. So I can see here my Docker agent is up and running. So agent is connected, right? So let's go ahead, go to the dashboard, and let's go to the Jenkins Docker. Let's start build now. So if I just start build now, you can see here on Java started running, and you can see here, good. So it has been completed and it's very quick. So all the things has been checked out. So Docker compose out. So whatever it says, container Jenkins DB is running, and this is running, and finish success. So if I just go ahead and check, you can hear run Docker compose is now success. Let's go and check whether we can access the applications or not. Okay, before accessing application, let me log into the server and check whether this particular server we are able to connect, see the containers are there or not. Okay, let me copy, and I need this Docker server to connect and then check the containers, right? So let me connect. Okay, so I've connected. Now let's do sudo su. So if I do Docker container ls, okay, now we can see here we have 3 containers are running, 1, 2, and 3. So all are up and running. Now how I'll access this UI? Simple. What I have to do, you have to just get the IP address and go your browser, just paste it here. See what happened here? This simply getting copied, and it's all the databases has been created, and the tables also has been created, and all the data, whatever was kept as part of this particular dump file, these data has been inserted into the table portion. So what this dump file does, it's just create a table called portion, and then it just update the value. Into the database, into the table. All right. So now let me show you how it's get automated created. If you see here the volumes, right? If you see this volumes, whatever I've kept it here, and this volume, the dump folder, right? The volume has been linked to this particular Docker containers daemon directory, right? What is that? Docker -endpoint -init db.d. This is a daemon directory where if you keep this particular any file, it will get executed during the creation of the container. So as it is linked, the dump file contains the mydb.sql, and whenever the container gets created, this particular statement will get executed. So what it will do first, it will first create the table portion and then insert the data into it. So that's very simple, right? Now you understood how we can set up this project and run the Docker compose through the Jenkins file and to the project, right? Now let me show you. So here what happened, I just accessed the UI service, right? The www service, whatever it was given, the UI, the user interface, or the applications, front-end application, I think. So let's see how we can access the DB UI service. So just put the same IP address, but here we have to just provide the port 82. Just provide the port 82. Now you can see here, and make sure this port 82 is whitelisted as part of your security group in the Docker server, whatever you have created, right? So we can able to access. This is the PHP myadmin DB UI server, right? So username is Ranjit, and the password just provide. It's also Ranjit. Hit enter. See, now I can see here this particular PHP myadmin container is up and running. right? And it can also, you can see here my DB database is created, right? See, and the table version, and here those data is available, right? So hope you understand clearly how we can set off this Docker and Jenkins, how we can set up the Jenkins file to execute the Docker compose, and you can write Docker compose by using this one. If you have any doubt or any concerns, please do write me in the comment section below. I'll try to answer your queries. You can download or clone the project. I'll set the link in the comment section in the descriptions below. You can just clone the project and start working. If you have any doubt, just comment, just let me know. I'll just answer your queries or anything. If you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do subscribe now so that you'll get notified when I add more videos on my channel. Thank you.